Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. And thank you so much for joining in while we tell you a little bit about the Design Oath, an ethical commitment for the global design community. This project started in March 2024, and we believe it's going to go on forever in hopes of a better design future. So, let me tell you a little bit about the Design Oath. This is a global ethics initiative developed by the members of the Young Designer Circle at the World Design Organization. And it aims to establish a practical and measurable ethical framework for the design profession, one that strengthens integrity, accountability, and social responsibility across diverse global contexts. And who are the Young Designer Circle? The Young Designer Circle is a 2 year global program that unites emerging designers at different stages of their careers. It fosters growth through leadership development, mentorship, and interdisciplinary collaboration. It is guided by the UN Sustainable Development Goals, and we focus on key themes such as sustainability, education, equity, ethics, and systems thinking, equipping young designers with the tools to drive positive change and shape a better future. The 2023 to 2025 cohort is made up of young, emerging designers from various countries. We focus on leadership, creativity, and ethical design practices through mentorship, cross collaboration, and meaningful dialogue. The YDC members are actively working on two flagship projects: the Next in Line Design podcast, which shares stories and insights from young designers from around the world, and the Design Oath, which is this project, a global ethical pledge for designers. In the past, we've also worked on projects including Heritage in Motion, a 3 week design sprint with the goal of providing post secondary design students an interdisciplinary and multicultural learning experience. So, the Design Oath, committed to design for a better world. As a designer or design led organization, institution committed to design, I or we recognize the profound impact of design. With this awareness, I or we pledge to uphold the values and responsibilities outlined in the principles of the Design Oath. I or we commit that during the design process of my or our products or services, I will consider for my design to, and these are the 9 principles that we've come up with: convey effectiveness and meaning, nurture viable business, ensure reliability, integrate systemic responsibility, foster systemic regeneration, promote equitable participation, embrace aesthetic consciousness, harmonize creativity innovation, drive system synergy. I or we will measure this either using the metrics of measurement as outlined for the principles of design oath or however we feel best. And now I'm going to pass it on to Arbresha to take it forward.
Okay, now let's talk about 9 principles, what makes design truly good. So, according to our experience and our research that we have done, different sources. So we conclude that measurement in design has largely been informal and philosophical. So designers have often relied on intuition and their personal values or their own experience. So these cases had created a huge lack of structured and offer no consistent criteria for comparing progress tracking and accountability. So as a result, the most decision making have been done based on subjectivity, outcomes inconsistent, and there have been a limited reflect on the long-term impact. But we want to change this idea and we want to focus on design O, which will be very structured and shared language for ethical measurement. So in that context, the heart of our design oath is the design toolkit, which is built around 9 principles that are organized into 3 thematic clusters and expressed in very active and measurable terms, provide a clear framework for evaluating design work. So instead of focusing more like, do you feel this design is good? We wanted more to create that impression to the designers and all the users that our design have promoted equability, participation, also that have a systematic responsibilities. So through the design oath, we create a strategic system and systematic uh, framework. So for creation of this framework, we focus on designing progression metrics. So for us, it's very important to understand the past, the present, and the future of the design challenges. In that context, we see the historical context and legacy system that shape the design challenges, but also we want to know for the moment how much impact have the in our for our user this this design and challenges. And also, we want to see the future, the long term consequences, and emerge outcomes. So this approach shifts the emphasis for outcomes and for outputs and outcomes. So making the designers to think beyond the present and act as the system thinkers with a future-oriented mindset. So we create a lot of huge work that we wanted to improve to you that the design oath it's not easily processed. So through the oath, design measurement will become strictly strategic and systematic, shaped by growing awareness for time and complexity. So our process is divided in three categories. The first one is the design foundation. The second one is the design responsibilities. And the third one is the design execution. So the first foundation, it's created mostly to understand the why and what of the good design it is. For us, it's very important that our design is not just a functional, but also solves meaningful problems, create positive challenges, and aligns with the values. The second group, the second category, is focused on the how of responsible design practices. So we want to share and we want to promote through the design equity, sustainability, and regeneration. And the third category is focused on the design, which emphasize the process of achieving good design. So for us, the integration of the creativity, innovation, collaboration, it's fundamental. And also, it's not just ensuring the design, it's not only well intended, but also is very important to be well executed. So for the next, we'll talk a little bit more in detail about the 9 principles.
For the first category, we have design foundation. Under this is principle number one, conveys effectiveness and meaning. It is defined by design that solves problems with purpose. By aligning clear intent with a focused strategy, it creates solutions that work, matter, and making a lasting impact beyond the immediate need. The key word in this principle is purpose, fostering prospective purpose by integrating tangible outcomes and intangible drivers. The idea is that design must solve a problem effectively and have a positive impact beyond immediate functionality. It needs a clear purpose aligned with values and be well communicated. Some of the key themes in our research in line with these principles are purpose, impact, value, and problem solving. And the questions as basis for our principal metrics are what tangible outcomes and intangible drivers are present in the environment? How is design going to foster a prospective purpose? And lastly, how is the purpose going to adapt throughout time and space? The second principle is nurtures viable business. Design isn't just about looks, it's a strategic tool that improves function, strengthens the customer experience, and sets a brand apart. A viable business is a business that runs well, stays profitable, and adapts as market change. The key word in this principle is economic, where business, assets, and brand are being managed, and where design nurtures finances, operations, and the market to drive the expected impact. The idea is that the tool for this is that business viability enhances functionality and customer experience, and market differentiation leads to a sustainable operations and profit. Some of the key themes from this research are business viability, financial sustainability, market demand, operational efficiency, and some of the business languages. The metrics in this principle are how are the business, assets, and brand being managed? How is design going to nurture finances, operations, and the market? And what is the expected impact on finances, operations, and the market? The third principle is ensures reliability. It is defined by how design works reliably to build trust and meets its purpose, and maximizes valuable and relevant results that encourage further positive impact. The key word in this principle is performance. how brand and artifact performs in the environment, and how design ensures their reliability while adapting to a new system performances. The idea is that design must be dependable and consistently functional, building trust, while also maximizing valuable outputs and positive impact. Some of the key themes in our research on this principle are reliability, value, user centered design, maintainability, value metrics, innovation, and iteration. The key questions in these metrics are: how are the brand and artifact performing in the environment? How is design going to ensure the reliability of the brand, artifact, and customer experience? And how will the brand and artifact adapt to new system performances? Under the second category, design responsibility, we have principle number 4: integrate systemic responsibility. This principle is defined by ethical design that takes full responsibility for its place in a larger system. Designers must act with care, think beyond the immediate, and consider how their choices affect people, communities, and the environment, both now and in the future. The key word in this principle is awareness. By integrating systemic responsibility to drive impact on individual, collective, and global scales while ensuring accountability. The idea is that designers are moral agents and must consider the wider system. This includes ethical perspectives, long term consequences for all stakeholders, and sustainability. The key themes in our research in this principle are systemic responsibility, ethical designs, long term vision, diverse perspectives, moral agency, accountability, and transparency. The metrics in this principle are: what impacts are currently being driven on individual, collective, and global scales? How is design going to integrate systemic responsibility? And how is responsibility going to be addressed throughout time and space? The fifth principle, foster systemic regeneration, is defined by design that supports lasting renewal by using regenerative principles and aligning with sustainable goals. It helps build a future that benefits the environment, society, and the economy. And the word here is governance. Here, design and governance drive practices and policies that restore, regenerate, and ensure continuous impact across social, environmental, and economic realms. The idea is that the design should go beyond sustainability to actively restore and enhance systems using regenerative principles throughout the design process. Some of the key themes from our research in this principle are systemic regeneration, sustainability, life cycle thinking, systems thinking, circular design, biomimicry, the SDGs, and collaboration. The metrics under this principle are: what is the current impact on social, environmental, and economic realms? How is design going to foster new practices and policies to restore and regenerate the system? And what are the expected governance impacts in fostering continuous regenerations? Principle number 6 is promotes equitable participation. It is defined by design that breaks down barriers that prevents people from participating equally in the creation of products, services, and society. Design should create opportunities that allow and encourage for internal and external collaboration, ensuring that all valid perspectives are heard. It should consider the impacts that these products and services have on current and future resources. The key word here is relationships. Design that secures spaces for participation while evolving the relationships between internal and external stakeholders in the system's value chain. The idea is that design must dismantle systemic barriers and prioritize diversity, equity, accessibility, and belonging through human centered processes. Some of the key themes in our research in this principle are equitable participation, systemic barriers, diversity, accessibility, human centered design, co creation, and advocate for change. The metrics that we ask in this principle are: how our internal and external stakeholders interact in the system's value chain. How is design going to secure and promote spaces for participation? And how are the system's relationships going to evolve throughout time and space? We now go to the third category, design execution. Under this is principle number 7, embraces aesthetic consciousness. It is defined by design that must create solutions that go beyond their novelty. They must be consciously designed to be perceived in ways that are meaningful and responsible. And the key word here is materiality. Design that enhance the interaction between the artifact, usability, function, cultural context, and user experience, while adding value to the material culture and fostering the system's aesthetic consciousness. The idea is that design reaches its full potential by creating emotional resonance through crafted aesthetic experiences that connect with the target audience meaningfully. Some of the key themes from our research involves aesthetic consciousness, emotional resonance, target audience, sensory design, neuroscience principles, emotional language, storytelling, user research, and emotional feedback. And along with our research, the metrics established in these principles are: how is the existing material culture interact between artifact usability and function, cultural context, and user experience? How is design going to add value to the artifact's material culture? And how will the system's consciousness be embraced and fostered throughout time and space? Principle number 8 is good design harmonizes creativity and innovation. Design must balance the expressive, exploratory nature of creativity with the strategic implementation, focused nature of innovation to efficiently create meaningful outcomes. And the key word here is convergence. Design that drives efficient innovation processes by managing human resources, market needs, and research and development while translating transdisciplinary, profit focused, and creative relationships into long term value. The idea is that effective design integrates both creativity and innovation to create novel, meaningful, and impactful solutions, balancing exploration with strategic implementation. And some of the key themes in our research involves on creativity, innovation, value creation, strategic implementation, divergent and convergent thinking, and other materials on collaboration. The metrics questions are: how are human resources, market needs, and the R&D process managed in the innovation environment? How is design going to converge into efficient innovation processes? And how will transdisciplinary, profit focused, and creative relationships be translated into value throughout time and space? And lastly, principle number 9 drives system synergy. It is defined by ethical design that grows from clear communication and teamwork. Through purposeful dialogue and collaboration, design builds understanding, creates shared value, and achieves common goals. And the keyword here is orchestration. Design that enhances systemic partnerships and value creation by improving collaborative culture, effective communication, and interconnection, while shaping the impact of systemic interventions on the stakeholders' culture. And the key idea here is that ethical design emerges from communication and collaboration. It's a process fostering mutual understanding, shared value, and common goals. And some of the key themes from our research involving in this principle are synergy, collaboration, communication, purposeful dialogues, clear communication, constructive criticism, shared values, and stakeholder value. The metrics in the questions are: how are collaboration culture, effective communication, and interconnection values affecting the synergy status? How is design going to enhance systemic partnerships and value creation? And how will the system's partnership culture be impacted by systemic intervention? The next one will be Lewis.
We have introduced the design oath and walked through its 9 core principles. Now, you're probably wondering, how did this all came together? And the story behind it starts with a very particular question. What is a well-designed assault rifle? As you can imagine, this question sparked intense debate. It forced us to confront the reality that good design, from a purely functional or aesthetic standpoint, can have potentially devastating consequences, leading us to a three-phase project. First, the immersion. We dove deep into the concept of a design oath, looking at historical examples like the Hippocratic Oath and asking fundamental questions: who is this for and why it's needed and why it will work? Next, we went to thematization. We organized all our questions and insights into key themes. And finally, the research planning. We clarified what we needed to discover and who was responsible for each part. This initial work was massive, resulting in over 260 research posts that were synthesized into strategic development areas, usually listed here, from defining our mission and vision to considering the global context and consequences of not compliance. From this, a structured timeline followed. To ground our work, we dove into secondary research, asking another fundamental question. How do you define design and good design? We conducted an in-depth analysis of materials from various design disciplines, from architecture to digital UX. We looked at everything from the etymology of the word design to modern professional practices. Crucially, we collected examples of what is considered good design and examined not only their positive aspects, but also their negative consequences. They helped us to identify gaps and opportunities for improvement. As you can see from the snapshot, it was a deeply and collaborative hands-on process. This work underscored one belief: our work has consequences, far more than we imagined initially. Building on that, our internal workshop evolved into Socratic dialogue and a statement lab, when we worked to answer three essential questions. Why does design even need an oath? What is the primary purpose? And what specific gap is trying to fill? To structure our findings, we've used qualitative research methodology called grounded theory. This is a systematic way to build concepts directly from data. As the diagram shows, it involves an open coding phase to identify initial concepts in our discussions, an actual coding to find relationship between those concepts, and finally, a selecting coding to extract the overreaching themes that could become foundation of the oath. This to pass from general data to specific grounded theory. This rigorous approach ensured that our principles were not just opinions, but were truly grounded on sharing data and analysis inside and outside the design field. So after the research, collaboration, and synthesis, this all landed onto a fundamental definition of design. Design is a skill or process of creation, implementation, and communication of a strategy that helps achieve a specific goal. This definition became our North Star. It's broad enough to encompass all disciplines, but specific enough to be actionable. It emphasizes that design is not only about making things, but it's a strategic process with a purpose. This core understanding was absolutely essential for building the rest of the oath and the design principles.
So how we started? We start first to ask the question to our own team: how do you define design and good design? So with the whole research that we have done and explained by Luis, we used a Socratic analysis to reveal 5 primary themes. So we focused on the power and influence of the design, the ethical gaps and unintended consequences, agency and accountability, need for the universal ethical framework, role of education, communication, and advocacy. So by focusing on this research, we saw that the design shapes individual behavior, social norms, and also environmental outcomes. The lack of standardized ethical frameworks risk negative social impact. Also, the designer seeks to move beyond execution to responsible authorship of solution, but also a shared ethical language and principles are crucial across culture and industries. Integrating ethics into design for us in education and in practical is essential. So we understood that there is a need for objective metric, transparent evaluation system, and long-term tracking of social environment impact. So such as metric are seen as vital for moving ethical design from theoretical ideas to a very practical application. So in this phase, we worked to complete evidence from the creation on a design oath for designers. So the findings reflect shared concerns about the power of design, current ethical shortcoming, and the desire of accountability and structured ethical guidance. So we created a mission, vision, and purpose to guide the formation of the holistic framework for the ethical design practice. So here we have just a small amount of the sources that we used for, first of all, our own update of the information, what was in the past, what is now talking about the design, and also for the future of the design. So our mission is that the design has the power to create a positive impact on the world by shaping behaviors, culture, and society in order to promote accountability, sustainability, and inclusivity. It also, for us, has the risk of underestimating and neglecting the broader impact of its execution, leading to harm and inequity. Therefore, we need to standardize objective, grounded, and measurable ethical guidelines that can be easily implemented and in the practice of the design to ensure designing is international and consistent, leveraging a benefit of all stakeholders, humans and beyond. So we wanted designers to embrace their agency and accountability confidently, leveraging their skills to create products, services, and systems that prioritize sustainability, inclusivity, and the well-being of the all beings, both in the past and in the present and in the future. To create the follow guidelines so we can design for a positive impact. This vision is driving for us that ethical design is not an option, but it is necessary for just and thriving planet. But we created this and we wanted to see how the other sees our mission, vision, and purpose. So in that case, we created design research survey, so to gather feedback from other stakeholders to validate and to see the outcomes on international workshop through the survey. So a small group of participation were asked to respond in the three categories: in the positive aspect of our mission, vision, and purpose, in an interesting aspect, and in the negative aspects. So to share their own definition of the design, if it is totally different for our own. Their response helped us a lot to clarify relevance and impact on the design oath. So we had a lot of positive aspects, interesting aspects, and negative ones. So we focused mostly to incorporate or to take this interesting aspect to our own perception and writing the mission, vision, and purpose of the design oath. We keep the positive aspect and we work very hardly to improve the clarity and applicability, or mostly the negative aspects. So with that, we create another attempt of a workshop. We thought that after we improve the negative aspects of our mission, vision, and purpose, it was even more clear for us to present this framework of the design oath to the other. So we discussed about a global workshops for a feedback. So we created workshops which invited different professionals and designers to discuss and more to represent their own feedback. These workshops started from March 24th up to 28th but we have a series of workshops according to the target group, according to the groups of clusters that we have divided the 9 principles. The workshop focuses on the gathering practical feedback, clarifying the oath missions and principles, and exploring how to apply it in an everyday design work. So participants were so engaged to discuss, to share real-world examples, and contribute to the group exercises at identifying the strength, weakness, and future opportunities of the oath. So participants emphasize the need for the design oath to be inclusive, globally relevant, and adaptable to different culture and economical contexts. So the designers called for a stronger emphasis on crucial design and social equity, collaboration, and the need to involve non-designers in ethical decision. So this helped us a lot to rethink again the design oath, the principles, the toolkit, and how we need to use it in the future. So next, Arjit will help us to clarify how we vision the future of the design oath.
Okay, so let us tell you a little bit more about the next steps of the design oath. What's the future of the design oath? So we've discussed as a team ideas to formalize the oath as a standard for design. Of course, there's a few things that we need to discuss here. One, of course, being institutional and formalization. So as we look to the future, we envision the oath being deeper integrated into the structures that shape design practice. When the oath first started to take shape, we discussed as a team how hard it can be to follow principles when they're not embedded into education and organizational practices. Through internal discussions and listening to stories of various workshop participants, we realized that for the oath to make a difference in the world, it may have to take a more formalized approach. Institutionalization and providing certifications, perhaps, that revolve around the oath principles were briefly discussed as good next steps. By embedding the oath's principles into design education, professional codes, organizational values, we hope to create a shared foundation across various different disciplines. Beyond recognition, they could encourage a culture of reflection and continuous improvement within the design field. The next thing is change and evolution. As the world evolves, the oath will have to evolve with it too. While an effort has been made to think about the longevity of the oath, we are firm believers that design just grows with feedback. While the principles may work well for the time we are in now, we understand that these may have to change with time. This is where future cohorts of the YDC will come into play. We also understand that since this is only the first iteration of the oath, that you as an individual, organizational, educational institution, or governing body will adapt this to your needs. Our hope is that with time, we're able to refine this to fit your needs even better. The principles of the design oath may never be perfect. And the next thing, the risk involved with standardization. So perfection can only be achieved with absolute standardization. But in design, the pursuit of perfection carries huge consequences. While standardization offers consistency and efficiency, it can also suppress the very qualities that make design meaningful, which are creativity and diversity. When we associate correctness with a single method or aesthetic, we risk creating environments, products, and systems that feel sterile, disconnected, or exclusionary. Standardization can destroy the richness of local traditions, erase minority perspectives, and prioritize functionality over emotional effects. We understand that a rigid standard may discourage experimentation and impose dominant values under the name of best practices. And variety is a reflection of the world's complexity. The diversity in design solutions brings moments of surprise, nostalgia, or empathy that connect us with our emotions. Diversity drives creativity. Thus, the challenge lies in balancing these shared ethical standards with the freedom for designers to respond to human needs in creative ways. The oath is not meant to limit creativity, it's supposed to help feed it. So, what's your take on the oath, right? Using the oath and helping us refine the principles that help define good design is what we're hoping you help us do. Examples are coming. By engaging with the design oath, you contribute to shaping a shared understanding of what makes design truly good. Your insights help us refine the principles to reflect the complexities of our world and of impactful design. While we really appreciate all the support so far, there's more work to be done. This project can only truly be successful if we accept it, use it, and critique it. We're looking forward to sharing our ideas on how we believe this oath can or should be used by showcasing practical examples using each principle. Our hope is that you'll support us by using it too. So how can you get involved? This is essentially where you come into play, right? We all have a role to play. There is a call to action coming for individuals, educational institutions, and organizations and governing bodies. And now for some acknowledgements to contributors, partners, and supporters. First, to the WDO Secretariat. The project would not have taken shape or reached this stage without the invaluable support, guidance, and regular supervision of Natalie Duto, Communications Manager, and Sarah Virginie, Programs and Communications Officer. We owe them both our deepest gratitude for their dedication and continuous encouragement throughout the process. And to the WDO leadership. We also would like to sincerely thank the YDC coaches, Owen Foster and Verena Pepke Helpness, and the board members of the WDO for their thoughtful advice and readiness to assist us during the development of the design oath. Then also to the WDO members and other active supporters. A heartfelt thank you goes to all the WDO members and other supporters who contributed directly or indirectly to this journey. We are grateful to all active participants who joined the events organized for the design oath. Your insights, suggestions, and feedback have played a vital role in shaping and improving the quality of this project. And here is the team that has worked on this project. Arbresha Ibrahimi, Eunice, Ison, Jinsian Lee, Jose Tomas, Leslie Cern, Luis Dominguez, Nesibe Kaya, Veronica, Arjit Singh, Joao, Carlos, and Manuel. And now, just another call to contact us, because we believe where one cohort dissipates, another one is born. We believe that the work on the oath may never truly end. As the world evolves, the oath will have to evolve with it. As we, the future generations of the YDC, continue to work on this project, we would love to hear from you. For any questions or comments, please reach us on our email, ydc@wdo.org. Thank you. The ball is just starting to roll. We've got a long way to go. As you continue to ponder and be a part of this design-led impact, let's move together to create a more exciting world. If you find this project valuable, we'd love to hear from you. If you share this document, please mention the Young Designer Circle and tag the WDO at World Design Org on Instagram and at World Design Organization on LinkedIn. And use the hashtags, #DesignOath, #OathForDesign, #WDO, #DesignForABetterWorld, and #ISupportTheOath. Once again, thank you so much for tuning in.